What up? It's Mobile MMA coming back at you on the road again, doing what I do, making this quick little video. It's a post-UFC 183 commentary, so I'm not going to say too much because we all know what happened. So I'll just give my feeling about it, at least highlight the parts that I enjoyed the most. So first of all, of course, you got to give it to the Diaz Silva fight. Of course, was the fight of the night, the headliner anyway, and it lived up to its billing. I was really impressed. Anderson Silva came out, he looked awesome, he was healthy, he was confident, and he looked like himself, and I think he's only going to get better from here. I think he said prior to the fight that it was like a rebirth for him. It was his first fight, like he was coming back as this new man, this first time competitor in the UFC, and so that's the way he said he viewed this fight, and he went in there and showed a lot of nervousness and made a few mistakes, I think, early on in the fight, but as the pace of the fight set in, the tempo was established, and the style of fighting that the two guys decided they would share set in, he got more and more comfortable and was able to do some really awesome display of what's in his arsenal. Moves that I've never seen him throw before, like his spinning back kicks that he threw on Diaz. Even though he didn't land any of them, but they looked so vicious. All his spinning back kicks, I think he threw 3 of them in that fight, and he was trying to take Diaz's head off with them, and had he even got half of toe on Diaz on any of them, the lights would have been out, because every kick he threw had bad intentions with it, and he was looking to put him away with those moves. So those were really awesome to see. And then his boxing and his Muay Thai just looked really good. His head movement, he is not an easy target to hit, and his footwork is just on point. He had pretty much total control of the ring. He took the fight to the places that he wanted to take it to, and Diaz really didn't have the answers for the looks that he was getting at times from Silva. So it was an awesome fight, and I'm really happy for Anderson. I called Diaz to win the fight, and I think that he proved to a lot of people that when he has the motivation, he's one of the most dominant hardcore fighters in the sport. I mean, nobody's stood in front of Anderson Silva the way that Nick did yesterday, and did not get faded and knocked the fuck out the way most of the people do who stand in front of Anderson Silva like that. He showed that he has a full arsenal of tools in his bag, and they never even took it to the ground, not once. It was a beautiful display of boxing, dirty boxing, and Muay Thai stand up. It was a really great display by both guys, and Diaz, for what it is. I mean, Anderson Silva's athleticism is really underrated. I think I underrate it myself, especially because we're all just so used to him doing a couple of moves and putting guys away at certain periods in the fight. And yesterday he showed that he can get around punches and kicks and all sorts of little traps that Nick Diaz set up for him. Anderson Silva was able to evade, and so I'll give Nick Diaz a lot of credit that he was able to make a guy as athletic as Anderson Silva was. He made him think. You could tell Anderson Silva had to think a lot about the things he was doing, and keeping himself out of getting in trouble as well. because Nick landed a few big shots on him, and they stymied him for a second. If you go back and watch the fight, there were a couple of moments when I was like, oh wow, you know, if Diaz if they weren't his 50% punches, his half-speed punches, you know, with accuracy, if he was able to land, you know, full speed on some of those punches, there's no way another guy would have been able to withstand that much, you know, impact. So I'll give it to Diaz. I hope he fights again. He looked really awesome, and just at the end of the day, Silva was the better fighter and really dominant fighter. So I'm really hoping that Anderson goes back, you know, tunes himself up even more, and then comes out, you know, really hungry and looking to put a beating on the next guy that he faces, and he's looking to you know, and you know, knock him out, knock out the next guy that he faces. Well, I shouldn't say that he wasn't, you know, looking to take Diaz out, or I should say as well about Silva's game. I think maybe I'm underestimating him too. Maybe he could have put the fight away early on, but it seemed to me like he wanted to go through this whole 5 rounds and just pick apart Diaz the way that he did. That very well could have been his strategy too. Like, hey, you know what? I'm here. I've been off for a year. I've trained my ass off, and so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just pick this guy apart. I think that very well could have been his mindset after Diaz started, you know, goofing off in the ring and clowning him the way, you know, trying to provoke him the way he was early on in the fight. So who knows? The next fight I'll comment on, the Woodley fight and Gastelum. I'm not even gonna. I don't want to comment on that one too much, because it was a really. I don't want to call it a disappointing fight. I don't want to call any fight disappointing, because I respect the guys that put their asses in that octagon and go fight. Because you guys, like, we have no idea what kind of hell those guys go through to train for those fights, and the shape that, you know, that it takes to get in, to be in there, to make weight, to learn their craft, to get good at it. You know, I'm never going to disrespect a fighter and call a fight horrible, because Woodley and Gastelum, to the, you know, the ignorant fan, they would say, yeah, that was a dumbass fight, that looked like shit. Yeah, I totally agreed. It was not the best looking fight ever, and Woodley said as much in his post-fight interview, but he won the fight. He deserved to win the fight, and good for him for doing that. So, you know, he won the way that fight dictated, and I'll always give him props for that. Verdum came in, or is it Verdum? No, it's not Verdum. Gastelum. He came in 10 pounds over anyway, fucking fatty, and you know, that part I won't. That part was bad. His bad. Like, if you're a fighter too, you got to make your weight. It's that simple. And then the next fight, I'm just gonna move on. The next fight though that I want to talk about was the Ally Quinta fight. I had a feeling that he was gonna be a guy to watch, and he definitely did not disappoint. He did a phenomenal job in the ring, and he put it on Joe Lozon in a way that you know, I think Anthony Pettis did. Anthony Pettis did the same sort of thing to Joe Lozon, where he just kicked the shit out of him. So I'll give Ally Quinta, you know, he's definitely one of the new guys to keep an eye on, because he comes from that Matt Serra team, and those guys, he's got 2 murderers in his camp, in Chris Weidman and Ally Quinta. So I'm really, that fight was what I thought the Woodley fight would be. It ended up being Ally Quinta instead. So big ups to him for just going in there and just taking apart a really experienced, skilled fighter like Joe Lozon and making him look totally average. Ally Quinta's stand-up is super strong. They just bang the whole time, and he ended up just Muay Thaiing Lozon to death. I mean, his kicks were ferocious. His punches were ferocious, and he just came in there and just took him apart and beat him into submission. Because credit to Lozon for not going down, but John McCarthy had to take Ally Quinta off Joe Lozon, because he just was all over him at the end, and Joe Lozon wouldn't go down. So there you have it. So that's pretty much it. I can't wait for the next UFC is Ronda Rousey headlining it, so I probably won't talk too much on that one, but I'm really excited for UFC 185. That's when Anthony Pettis gets back in the ring, and that should be really awesome. So we'll be looking forward to the next event, few events coming up from that as well. All right, guys, I'm out. Take it easy.